As long as I can remember, my mom taught me that when you move out of an apartment, you should leave it cleaner than it was when you moved in. My kids can attest to the hours I've spent cleaning apartments trying to live up to this lesson. It turns out that wasn't advice on how to get your security deposit back, but on how to live your life. Walking with my mom around the loop in her neighborhood was a lesson in communitarianism. Oh dear, John wasn't feeling well this week and didn't get a chance to break down his boxes. Come on, he wouldn't want them like this. Pour some of your water on that plant over there, it's thirsty. Someone dropped their glove. Put it over there so they can find it. She didn't like to go to the grocery store on the weekends. Not because it was too crowded, but because she felt terrible making it more crowded for the people who had no choice but to go on the weekend. She could shop on a Monday, while others could only go on a Saturday, and she didn't want to make it more crowded for them. Becky Ann Bunn was born in Beaumont, Texas in 1950. She never really felt like she fit in to the 1950s struggle to defend the status quo, to protect those in power by keeping others down. Racism, classism, and sexism were the waters they swam in. As a kid, she was athletic when girls weren't supposed to be. She couldn't understand why she couldn't grow up to be a cowboy. She didn't understand why she wasn't allowed to have friends or date outside her race. And she could never understand why some people mattered and some didn't. It was a hard beginning, feeling like she was born in the wrong place. 3 days after turning 18, she ran far from her sheltered world. She spent a year hitchhiking through Europe to Pakistan with no money, no visas, or any real plans. The trip almost killed her in many ways, but it also exposed her to many cultures and cemented her belief that all people deserve kindness. Shortly after her return to Boston, she discovered she was pregnant. She was thrilled to be my mom, even though this ended her vision of going to nursing school. And she spent her career as a respiratory and pulmonary therapist. She was great at her job, even if her friend Darlene says that sometimes she would take a little too long to do the blood draws because the patient needed someone to talk to. So here we are, 1975. She still doesn't weigh 100 pounds. She's got me, and she's trying to make it all work. Living in the projects, working in the hospital. We used to have to wake up early to ensure that she could still get to work on time if our VW Bug was stolen from the parking lot again. She never made it seem scary, though. She let me wear my roller skates in the house and my Wonder Woman underoos on the outside of my shirt while she taught me how to do the bump and sing the car wash into our hairbrush microphones. It was hard being a single mom. But just as her mother had always told her that he would, the right man came knocking on our door. Bob Hurwitz, the man who would become my second dad, was equally committed to fighting for all people to have fundamental rights and kindness. He showed up at our door to organize a tenant union in our housing project. You've all seen my mom, so it goes without saying that he was blown away. Not to mention her adorable daughter. Yes. But the thing that hooked him, contrary to popular belief, was not that she's a fantastic cook, but that she knew where the Marshalls was. Discount shopping seemed to be a lifelong bond between these two. She always said that he saved us, but he always said that she saved him. Maybe that's part of love, both of you feeling like the other one saved you. They took their passion for fighting for justice to Hartford, and one of the most incredible things in all our lives happened. My sister Rachel was born. We all loved her with everything we had. She came out a fierce fighter, and she stayed that way. The birth of Rachel led to this fantastic play group. I don't really know how they came together. But this group of moms and their children became our lifelong family, and many of them are here today. As Rachel grew up, she and our mom fought back against the sexism that Becky had faced her whole life. The two of them took the world of sports by storm. Our mom defended Rachel's protest against wearing dresses despite societal and familial pressures to get her kid to conform. She took her to football practice as the only girl on the team and beamed with pride. They traveled all over as Rachel competed in basketball, lacrosse, soccer, field hockey, softball. Sure, I'm missing one. Our mom was her #1 fan. She was proud of Rachel's determination to live life by her own rules. That was something she instilled in both of us, in all of us. I'm looking for you. At 25, Claudia came to America from Colombia to participate in a student teaching program, and our family was her host. It was supposed to be a 7-month program. At the end of 7 months, 2 things were clear. Claudia was family, and she was not going back to Colombia. 26 years later, she's still here with her husband, Scott, and the mother-daughter bond between them remains. Claudia's own words about this experience are printed on the table up here if anybody would like to read them. Becky's giant heart didn't stop there, as she continued to embrace those who needed a little extra love or a hand up, and our family grew to include so many people in this room. We always had someone living with us, Auntie Dodo, Claire and the kids, and for so many in this room, she was proud to be a second mom. She loved being a Grammy. She and my dad took my kids for an overnight once a week without fail. She taught them to cook, donuts, cake, cornbread, Georgian chicken patties. She took them to the library. She loved that library. And she taught them the things she taught all of us. How to be kind. Always wear your seatbelt. Just try one bite. Laughter and silliness are important, and how to play dominoes. She took each of them one at a time to visit our family in Tennessee, making each trip unique for them as individuals. The Titanic Museum, Grand Ole Opry, Dolly Parton, etc. She was so many things to all of us. Wife, friend, mother, Grammy, great-Grammy, second mom, daughter, sister, and Uncle Becky. That's a special joke for my cousins, they'll get it. But she was also her own human, not solely defined by her relationship to others. She loved learning, and right up to the very end, she was reading her science magazines. We all know how much she loved gardening, but this too was really about her making an impact on the world. She loved creating playgrounds for the bees, birds, worms, and ants. She loved the interconnectedness of nature. She learned so much from the West Hartford Garden Club and was so proud of her membership there. She loved to cook, always exploring different flavors. She's passed on a family trait of expressing our love through cooking. When she brought you her famous roll cake, opera cake, or spinach pie, she was bringing you love and deliciousness. And yes, I'm going to learn the roll cake recipe. I know everybody's asking me. And of course, we can't forget lawn bowling. I wouldn't be surprised if Dana Farber opens a lawn bowling club. She would entertain every doctor, nurse, therapist, staff member that she came across about the joys of lawn bowling. She loved the skill, the sportsmanship, the teamwork, the belonging, the athleticism, but most of all, the camaraderie. The friendships and support she felt from the people at Fernley Lawn Bowling Club would bring tears to her eyes. We will be forever grateful for the love that she felt there. We certainly didn't live our lives by the book, but at the end, she was proud of her life and all she had done. She taught us to always be the very best weirdos. And just like Becky, always leave things a little better than we found them.
one of the very lucky people to have called Becky a second mom. I lived in their home. 1579 was my other house. Every weekend, every day. I can still recite that phone number like the back of my hand. And I was so lucky to have Becky in my life. And to think of one memory truly is impossible. But one that comes to mind very quickly that truly shows the logic and love that she lived by. Rachel and I lived every summer barefoot. Becky encouraged it. You need to get those summer feet. Do not wear shoes. Those calluses, we were proud of them. To this day, it's hard to get rid of them. And the first time I ever stepped on a bee, I thought the world was going to end. Rachel carried me inside, crying. Oh my gosh, it was terrible. Went into that kitchen that I spent endless days at. Sat down, Becky very calmly, okay, opened up the kitchen cabinet, and I was thinking, okay, well, that's strange. Grab meat tenderizer. And I was just, could not understand. Added some water, put it on my foot, and that pain was gone. And I never second guessed Becky's remedies ever again. She had the pleasure of taking care of me many times. But that being truly that moment where I saw that love, that logic that she lived every single day by. And when I look at where I landed in my life, I see it every day. The career choices that I've made and how I attempt to mother my children is so influenced by Becky and what she did in my life and the love that she showed me, that she will continue to show me for the rest of my life. And I am so grateful for that entire family for letting me sleep in a hammock above Rachel's bed every single weekend. Bob making sure it wouldn't come out of the wall. And just endless love, and I will forever be thankful.
All right, and now my mother never would have approved of a long, drawn-out speech thing, so we're going to be quicker, but my dad would like to just say something before we end here.
First off, I'd like to thank everyone for coming here. Becky and I always had a very wide social network. A lot of the people who we know and who Lena knows and Rachel knows really don't know one another because we just literally functioned in numerous different groups. But there was one thing in common that Becky had for everyone, and that was kindness and thoughtfulness. And for people being here today, what usually happens in a group is people who know one another stick together and they basically talk shop talk with each other. And they don't get to know the other people who are there. So I would encourage people who don't know one another to share their experiences that they've had with Becky. And that way, get a broader understanding of the person who she was and how she impacted on all of us throughout our lives. So thank you once again for being here.